Right now, as you are watching this, a dangerous heat dome is shattering temperature records across more than 30 states. We are talking 95 degrees in Nebraska, 110 degrees near Phoenix, Arizona, in the month of March. That is not a typo. That is not April. That is not May. That is March 21st, 2026. And the United States is baking under temperatures that have never been recorded this early in the year. But here is the twist that almost nobody is talking about. This extreme heat is about to trigger not one, but two massive storm systems that will slam into the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the entire East Coast over the next 7 days. Large hail, damaging winds topping 60 miles per hour, tornado threats, and even a late-season snowstorm dumping up to a foot of snow across New England. All of it is coming, and the timing matters more than anything. If you live anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains, the next 72 hours could change your week dramatically. And if you think Sunday is the big event, wait until you hear what the models are showing for Thursday and Friday. That second storm could be even more dangerous than the first. But I will get to that. First, let me show you exactly what is happening in the atmosphere right now, because this is the engine driving every single weather headline across the country. Stay with me, because at the 5-minute mark, I am going to break down the exact hour-by-hour timeline of when these storms hit your city. I will cover more than 270 locations across the United States, so you know precisely when to prepare. And at the 8-minute mark, I will reveal why the models are hinting at something even more alarming for the first week of April. You do not want to miss that. Let us start with the big picture. A massive high-pressure ridge has parked itself over the desert southwest. Picture a giant dome of sinking, warming air stretching from Southern California all the way across to the Missouri Ozarks. Above that dome, the jet stream has been shoved far to the north, running across southern Canada and dipping only slightly into the northern United States. This is a pattern we typically see in late April or May, not in the third week of March, and the consequences are staggering. As of Saturday afternoon, March 21st, temperatures across the central and southern plains have rocketed into the 80s and 90s. Des Moines, Iowa is sitting at 82 degrees. Omaha, Nebraska, 83. Fairbury, Nebraska, 82. Goodland, Kansas, 83. Amarillo, Texas, 86. Midland, Texas, 85. And down in the desert southwest, Phoenix is already at 82 and climbing toward triple digits, while areas near Borrego Springs, California, and Coachella, California have already hit 95 degrees. Indio, California, 88. Palm Springs, 84. El Centro, 85. Calexico, 85. Here is the number that should make you stop and think. Nearly 100 different daily high-temperature records are expected to be either tied or shattered today alone. Some of these records are not just being broken by a degree or two. They are being obliterated by 10 to 15 degrees above the previous daily record. That has almost never happened this early in the season anywhere in the continental United States. And tomorrow, another 100-plus records are expected to fall. When you add up today and tomorrow, we could see between 150 and 200 individual temperature records broken in just 48 hours. This is a top 5 warmth event for the month of March in the recorded history of the United States. Now let me walk you through the temperatures city by city so you understand the scale of what we are dealing with. In the upper Midwest, Ames, Iowa is at 81 degrees. That is nearly 30 degrees above normal for late March. St. Joseph, Missouri, 82. Maryville, Missouri, 79. Sedalia, Missouri, 80. Rogers, Arkansas, 79. Fayetteville, Arkansas, 78. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, 78. These are not warm spring days. These are early summer temperatures, and they are arriving a full 2 months ahead of schedule. Across the Central Plains, Lincoln, Nebraska, 80 degrees. Wichita, Kansas, 80. Emporia, Kansas, 79. Hutchinson, Kansas, 77. Hays, Kansas, 79. Duncan, Oklahoma, 79. Enid, Oklahoma, 80. Denton, Texas, 80. Waxahachie, Texas, 79. San Marcos, Texas, 79. The entire corridor from Nebraska to Texas is running 20 to 30 degrees above where it should be. In the southwest, the heat is even more extreme. Glendale, Arizona, 83 degrees. Surprise, Arizona, 80. Mesa, 81. Tempe, 82. Tucson, 82. Sierra Vista, 81. Welton, Arizona, 83. Yuma, 83. Hesperia, California, 77. Victorville, California, 77. Andrews, Texas, 84. Clovis, New Mexico, 80. Hobbs, New Mexico, 81. Odessa, Texas, 81. San Angelo, Texas, 83. These numbers are breathtaking for March, and it is not just the afternoon highs that are shattering records. Even the overnight low temperatures are setting records. Tomorrow morning, Wichita Falls, Texas, will not drop below the low 70s. Oklahoma City will stay in the 70s overnight. St. Louis and Chicago could see morning lows in the 60s. Over in Ohio, the entire state will be in the 50s for overnight lows. Those are temperatures that normally do not happen until late May. The atmosphere is loaded with warmth from top to bottom, and that warmth is the rocket fuel for what comes next. Now here is where things get dangerous, and this is the part you absolutely cannot miss. This afternoon, Saturday, March 21st, a small but potent severe weather threat is developing across the southeast. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a Level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for eastern Tennessee, the western Piedmont of the Carolinas, and a small sliver of northeast Georgia. I know what you are thinking. A Level 1 does not sound like much, but here is why this one could catch people completely off guard. The setup today is what meteorologists call a cold air aloft environment. There is an unusually cold layer of air sitting high above the surface, around 15 to 20,000 feet up. When you combine that cold air above with the warm, unstable surface air below, you get a rapid change in temperature over a very short vertical distance. That is what we call steep lapse rates, and it is a recipe for hail. Even if the overall moisture is not impressive, even if the sky does not look particularly threatening, storms that fire in this environment can produce significant hail very quickly. And here is the thing that meteorologists know, but regular weather apps will not tell you. Today is going to look like a beautiful day across the southeast. The humidity is low. The sky will have a crisp, clean look. There will not be that hazy, muggy feel that you normally associate with thunderstorm days. But when storms do fire, they will be visually stunning and structurally impressive. Beautiful blue to white cloud bases with sharp contrasts against the dry sky. Do not let that beauty fool you. That dry, cold air aloft is exactly what makes these storms efficient hail producers. Some of the most damaging hailstorms in history have occurred on days that started out looking picture perfect. Here is the timing for today's storms. Between 2 and 4 in the afternoon Eastern Time, thunderstorms will begin to develop along the Tennessee-Kentucky border, working south through the Cumberland Plateau and into the Tennessee Valley. By 5 to 6 in the evening, cells will be firing across the western Piedmont of North Carolina between Greenville and Rock Hill in South Carolina, and potentially as far north as Statesville, Winston-Salem, and Greensboro. I am also watching the corridor between Charlotte and Pageland, South Carolina, near Chesterfield. Any cell that develops along this corridor could produce hail quickly and with little warning. By 7 to 8 in the evening, the strongest activity will be pushing through eastern Tennessee around Knoxville, Johnson City, and Athens. Knoxville is currently at 76 degrees. Chattanooga, 76. Sevierville, 76. Alcoa, 76. Cleveland, Tennessee, 76. All of these cities are primed for thunderstorm development this afternoon. Some of these cells could produce hail an inch in diameter or larger, along with wind gusts in the 40 to 60 mile per hour range. The tornado threat today is low, sub 2% probability, but a brief, weak tornado or landspout cannot be completely ruled out. Down in the Carolinas, Greenville, South Carolina, is at 69 degrees, Spartanburg, 72, Clemson, 76, Toccoa, Georgia, 76, Asheville, North Carolina, 62, Hickory, 73, Statesville, 73, Winston-Salem, 71, Greensboro, 73. Any of these locations could see a storm with large hail between 5 and 9 this evening. The storms will be isolated, but if one parks over your area, it could do real damage. By 10 to 11 at night, the activity will be winding down as the atmosphere loses its daytime heating. Remnant showers may linger across eastern sections of the Carolinas through the early morning hours, but the real show is not today. Today is just the opening act, and do not go anywhere because what is coming tomorrow is significantly more dangerous. Now let me tell you about Sunday, March 22nd, because this is the day that has my full attention, and it should have yours too. If you live anywhere from Indiana to New Jersey, from the Ohio River to southern Pennsylvania, you need to hear this next section very carefully. A low-pressure system that is currently sitting over Montana is racing eastward. By Sunday morning, it will be strengthening rapidly as it crosses the Great Lakes. Behind it, a sharp cold front will be extending from southern Illinois through Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, and all the way to New Jersey. The Storm Prediction Center has already issued a Level 2 out of 5 slight risk covering a large area from Indiana through Ohio, northern Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, and into Pennsylvania. Around that, a Level 1 marginal risk extends even further. Within the slight risk zone, scattered severe storms are expected, and the threats include very large hail, damaging straight-line winds, and yes, even a few tornadoes. Here is the hour-by-hour breakdown, and this is the information that could keep you and your family safe. Sunday morning, 7 to 10 in the morning Eastern Time, the atmosphere will still be relatively quiet across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Rain and snow will be falling across the northern Great Lakes and into New England, but instability will already be building south of a line from Columbus to Pittsburgh, with Cape values reaching 2,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram. That is impressive thunderstorm fuel for a March setup. Wind shear will be increasing rapidly as the jet stream tightens overhead. By 11 in the morning to noon Eastern Time, the first thunderstorms will begin to fire. Initial development is most likely across southern Pennsylvania near the Maryland border and back into central Ohio. One high-resolution model is showing discrete supercells forming as early as noon over Maryland and Delaware. If this scenario plays out, we could be looking at significant hail right out of the gate, with stones potentially reaching 2 inches in diameter. That is golf ball-sized hail in March. Let that sink in for a moment. From 1 to 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time, storms will be intensifying rapidly. A line of thunderstorms will be developing from Pittsburgh southwest through Columbus, Indianapolis, and back toward Evansville, Indiana. Discrete cells ahead of the main line could produce the largest hail and even a couple of tornadoes embedded in the activity. This is the window where the tornado risk is highest, especially along the cold frontal boundary from southern Indiana through West Virginia and into Maryland. The Storm Prediction Center has a 5% tornado probability in the slight risk area, which may not sound high, but that translates to roughly a 1 in 20 chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. For March, that is significant. 3 to 6 in the afternoon Eastern Time is when the severe weather will be at its peak intensity. This is the critical window. Thunderstorms will be widespread from Philadelphia and Trenton in the east, through just south of Pittsburgh and Columbus, down through Cincinnati, Louisville, and Evansville. The primary threat during this window shifts toward damaging straight-line winds as individual storms begin merging into clusters and line segments. Wind gusts of 60 miles per hour or higher are possible along the strongest line segments. That is strong enough to snap large tree limbs, knock down power lines, and flip over lighter vehicles. Large hail will still be occurring with any remaining discrete cells, particularly on the southern end of the line in Kentucky and West Virginia. There is a 15% probability of damaging winds within 25 miles of any given point, and a 15% probability of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter. 6 to 9 in the evening Eastern Time, the line of storms will be pushing through the mid-Atlantic, moving through New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, and into Virginia. The severe threat will begin diminishing after sunset as instability decreases, but storms will remain capable of producing strong winds and heavy rain. Rainfall rates could reach 1 to 2 inches per hour at times within the strongest cells, leading to localized flash flooding, especially in urban areas with poor drainage. By 9 to 10 in the evening, the most significant severe weather will be ending, though showers and embedded thunderstorms will continue into the overnight hours across the eastern seaboard. Monday morning commuters from Baltimore to Washington to Richmond may encounter wet roads and residual showers, but the severe threat will have ended. Now, there are 2 possible scenarios for how Sunday plays out, and the difference matters a lot for those of you in the direct path. The first scenario, which most models favor right now, involves a linear squall line sweeping through the region from west to east. This promotes primarily damaging winds, with hail and a lower tornado risk. Think of a wall of storms moving through quickly, lasting 30 to 60 minutes in any given location. Loud, intense, but relatively brief. The second scenario involves discrete supercells developing ahead of the main line, particularly over Maryland, Delaware, and southern Pennsylvania. If this happens, the hail threat goes way up, potentially producing 2-inch or larger stones, and the tornado risk increases significantly. Individual supercells can persist for hours, tracking over long distances and producing repeated cycles of hail in rotation. I am leaning toward the first scenario at this point, but the second scenario has enough model support that it cannot be dismissed. By tomorrow morning, we will have much more clarity. Do not miss the next section because I am about to cover what is happening on the cold side of this storm, and it involves a late-season snowstorm that could catch a lot of people in the Northeast off guard. While severe thunderstorms are erupting across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, the northern side of this system is producing significant snowfall across New England. This is March, and we are talking about a legitimate snowstorm for parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and the higher elevations of New York. Here is the snow timeline. Saturday evening through the overnight hours, snow will begin developing across upstate New York, the Adirondacks, and into Vermont. By Sunday morning, snow will be falling heavily across Vermont, New Hampshire, and into western Maine. Burlington, Vermont, currently at 34 degrees. Montpelier, 28 degrees. These cities should expect heavy snow by Sunday morning. Portland, Maine, 41 degrees and overcast, snow developing late tonight. Bangor, 34 degrees, snow arriving Sunday morning. Presque Isle, 31 degrees. Sunday afternoon through Sunday evening is when the heaviest snowfall rates will occur. The Green Mountains of Vermont, the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and the mountains of western Maine could see snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour at times. Total accumulations in the higher elevations are expected to reach 8 to 12 inches. That is a full foot of snow in late March. In the valleys and lower elevations, slushy accumulations of 3 to 6 inches are likely across northern New England. Down east Maine could see 3 to 6 inches as well. Augusta, Maine, currently 39 degrees. Lewiston, 40 degrees. Concord, New Hampshire, 40 degrees. Rutland, Vermont, 34 degrees. All of these locations will see accumulating snow. Even areas as far south as the Adirondacks of New York could see 6 to 8 inches in the higher terrain. Lake Placid, currently 27 degrees. Plattsburgh, 32 degrees. Saratoga Springs, 34 degrees. These areas should prepare for a plowable snowfall event. By Sunday night into Monday morning, the snow will be tapering off as the storm system pulls offshore. But cold air wrapping in behind the system will keep temperatures below freezing across northern New England, meaning whatever falls will stick around. Ithaca, New York, currently 33 degrees. Binghamton, 32. Elmira, 35. Syracuse, 35. Rochester, 35. These cities are on the southern edge of the snow shield and could pick up anywhere from a dusting to 2 inches. Now, let me go through the rest of the country so nobody is left wondering what their week looks like. In the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, the severe weather zone cities need to be on high alert for Sunday. Columbus, Ohio, 52 degrees right now, partly sunny. Storms developing early afternoon Sunday, directly in the slight risk zone. Cincinnati, 59 degrees, sunny. Storms arriving Sunday afternoon. Indianapolis, 54 degrees, partly sunny. Thunderstorms likely Sunday afternoon, damaging winds the primary threat. Dayton, Ohio, 54 degrees. Evansville, Indiana, 69 degrees. Louisville, Kentucky, 67 degrees. Charleston, West Virginia, 63 degrees. Lexington, Kentucky, 68 degrees. All of these cities are in or near the slight risk area and should expect severe thunderstorms Sunday afternoon into evening. Pittsburgh, 50 degrees with scattered clouds right in the heart of the slight risk zone. Storms firing by early afternoon Sunday. Philadelphia, 60 degrees. Thunderstorms likely Sunday afternoon. Baltimore, 64 degrees. Washington, D.C., 65 degrees. Trenton, New Jersey, 54 degrees. Wilmington, Delaware, 59 degrees. Dover, Delaware, 63 degrees. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 51 degrees. State College, 48 degrees. Allentown, 48 degrees. All of these cities need to monitor conditions closely Sunday. Atlantic City, 62 degrees. Annapolis, 60 degrees. Frederick, Maryland, 61 degrees. Hagerstown, 59 degrees. Any of these locations could see damaging hail and wind Sunday afternoon. Down in the southeast, where today's storms are the concern, Knoxville, 76 degrees. Nashville, 77. Chattanooga, 76. Charlotte, 65 degrees. Greenville, South Carolina, 69. Asheville, 62. Raleigh, 78. Durham, 78. Fayetteville, North Carolina, 70. Wilmington, North Carolina, 75. Myrtle Beach, 74. Columbia, South Carolina, 72. Augusta, Georgia 74, Atlanta 75, Savannah 79, Jacksonville, Florida 78, Charleston, South Carolina 74, Birmingham 73, Huntsville 72, Montgomery 72, Tuscaloosa 71, Mobile 73. For the Deep South and Gulf Coast, it is a quiet and warm weekend. New Orleans 71 degrees, Baton Rouge 73, Shreveport 73, Jackson, Mississippi 70, Memphis 73, Little Rock 74, Tallahassee 73, Tampa 73, Orlando 72, Miami 76, Fort Lauderdale 77, Fort Myers 75, Key West 76, Pensacola 72, Corpus Christi 77, Brownsville 81, McAllen 79, Laredo 79, San Antonio 72, Austin 74, Houston 74. In the Plains and Midwest, the heat continues to be the headline. Kansas City 74 degrees, St. Louis 75, Wichita 80, Oklahoma City 76, Tulsa 75, Dallas 74, Fort Worth 74, Topeka 71, Springfield, Missouri 75, Joplin 75, Manhattan, Kansas 71, Salina 72, Dodge City 74, Garden City 74, North Platte 67, Grand Island 65. Sioux City 60, Sioux Falls 72, Rapid City 71, Pierre 64, Bismarck 63, Fargo 60, Grand Forks 39, Minneapolis 57, Rochester, Minnesota 65, Duluth 34, Green Bay 39, Milwaukee 50, Madison 54, Chicago 55. The divide is striking. Southern Minnesota in the 60s and 70s, while northern Minnesota and Wisconsin are struggling to get above the 30s and 40s. That temperature contrast is exactly what fuels severe weather, and it is part of why Sunday's storms will be so potent. Out west, Denver, 73 degrees, Colorado Springs, 72, Fort Collins, 64, Boulder, 72, Pueblo, 70, Cheyenne, 70, Casper, 66, Billings, 58, Bozeman, 48, Great Falls, 48, Missoula, 45, Helena, 47. The northern Rockies are mild but dealing with an incoming Pacific system bringing rain and mountain snow. Boise, 57, Salt Lake City, 66, Provo, 63, Ogden, 64, Reno, 57, Las Vegas, 73, Flagstaff, 74, which is absolutely remarkable for nearly 7,000 feet in elevation. Prescott, 67, Sedona, 75, Albuquerque, 57, Santa Fe 61, El Paso 70. On the West Coast, Los Angeles 70 degrees, San Diego 66, San Francisco 62, Sacramento 67, Fresno 76, Bakersfield 76, San Jose 63, Oakland 63, Santa Barbara 60, San Luis Obispo 61, Monterey 59, Portland, Oregon 47, Seattle 45, Spokane 45, Eugene 49, Bend 47, Medford 55, Redding 52. The Pacific Northwest remains the one area of the country that actually feels like March. And the Northwest will see another round of rain and mountain snow by Tuesday and Wednesday as a Pacific system moves in, which becomes very important for the second half of the week. Anchorage, Alaska 15 degrees. Fairbanks, negative 24 degrees. Prudhoe Bay, negative 24 degrees. The extreme cold in interior Alaska stands in stark contrast to what is happening in the lower 48. Juneau, 33 degrees with light snow. Honolulu, 70 degrees with light rain. Hilo, 70 degrees. Kailua Kona, 77 degrees with light rain. Hawaii is dealing with tropical moisture this weekend, but nothing severe. But before I get to tomorrow's complete timeline, let me finish the full city-by-city breakdown that I promised you, because there are still hundreds of cities we need to cover, and I want every single viewer to know exactly what their local forecast looks like. Let me continue through the Midwest in detail. Peoria, Illinois, 64 degrees and sunny right now. Expect temperatures to drop sharply Monday as the cold front arrives, but today and tomorrow are warm. Springfield, Illinois, 68 degrees. Bloomington, Illinois, 65. Champaign, 61. Decatur, 65. Rockford, 56. DeKalb, 58. The central Illinois corridor is right on the boundary between the warm air to the south and the cooler air to the north. Storms will be nearby Sunday, but the main severe threat stays just to the east of you in Indiana and Ohio. Across Indiana, beyond Indianapolis and Evansville that we already covered, let me touch on Lafayette, 56 degrees. Terre Haute, 64. Bloomington, Indiana 64, French Lick 71, Vincennes 69, Kokomo 54, Muncie 59, Anderson 72. These cities are all in or near the severe weather zone for Sunday. If you are in central or southern Indiana, you absolutely need to be weather aware all day Sunday. In Ohio, beyond Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton. Toledo, 37 degrees and overcast. You are well north of the severe threat but could see showers. Lima, 44 degrees. Mansfield, 41. Canton, 40 degrees with fog. Youngstown, 42. These northern Ohio cities are on the cold side of the front and will be dealing more with clouds, showers, and much cooler temperatures than severe weather. But Zanesville, just south of Columbus, Lancaster at 51 degrees, Chillicothe, and the southeastern Ohio corridor are all within the severe threat zone. In West Virginia, beyond Charleston, Morgantown is at 51 degrees and overcast. Wheeling, 48. Clarksburg, 55. Huntington, 65. Parkersburg and the Mid-Ohio Valley region should be on high alert Sunday afternoon. This entire state sits right in the path of the cold front and the associated severe thunderstorms. Moving into Kentucky beyond Louisville and Lexington, Bowling Green, 74 degrees and sunny, Hopkinsville, 76, Paducah, 76, Murray, 77, Owensboro, 70, Frankfort, 68. These western and central Kentucky cities are warm today and could see the trailing edge of Sunday's storms as they push south through the Ohio Valley. In Virginia, Richmond is at 71 degrees with scattered clouds. Virginia Beach, 70, Norfolk, 69, Charlottesville, 69, Roanoke, 70, Lynchburg, 70, Harrisonburg, 66, Fredericksburg, 70. The northern Virginia and Shenandoah Valley corridor could catch the southern extent of Sunday's storms, particularly if the line pushes further south than currently forecast. Winchester, Leesburg at 61 degrees, and the northern Virginia suburbs of Washington, D.C. should be especially watchful. Now let me spend a moment on some cities that are well away from the severe weather but have their own weather stories this weekend. Down in Texas, the heat is the main event. Look at these numbers. Waco, 72 degrees, Temple, 78, Killeen, 77, Bryan, College Station, 72, Tyler, 73, Longview, 73, Texarkana, 76, Corsicana, 75, Palestine, 75, Greenville, Texas, 75, Sherman, 75, Denison, 75, McKinney, 77, Allen, 77, Plano, 77, Grand Prairie, 76, Arlington, 73, Garland, 72, Mesquite, 72. The entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is running well above normal. Brownsville down on the Mexican border, 81 degrees. McAllen, 79. Laredo, 79. Corpus Christi, 77. Victoria, 74. Galveston, 75. In Louisiana, New Orleans sits at 71 degrees with sunny skies. Baton Rouge, 73. Lake Charles, 71. Shreveport, 73. Monroe and the northern Louisiana corridor are in the mid-70s. Lafayette, 74. Alexandria, 73. This entire state is enjoying a beautiful weekend, well south of any storm activity. Mississippi is similarly warm and quiet. Jackson, 70 degrees with scattered clouds. Hattiesburg, 70. Gulfport, 72. Biloxi, 71. Tupelo, 74. Oxford, 75. Batesville, 75. Vicksburg, 73. Meridian and the eastern Mississippi corridor are in the low 70s. Beautiful weather for outdoor activities this weekend. In Alabama, Birmingham at 73, Huntsville at 72, Montgomery at 72, Mobile at 73, Tuscaloosa at 71, Dothan at 72, Auburn at 71. The entire state is mild and pleasant today, with no severe weather concerns until possibly Monday when the cold front sweeps through the southeast. Georgia beyond Atlanta, Macon, 76 degrees, Augusta, 74, Columbus, 72, Savannah, 79, Athens, 70, Dalton, 74, Gainesville, 73, Valdosta, 76, Waycross, 79. The northern Georgia cities closest to the Tennessee border should watch for isolated storms this evening, but the rest of the state is looking at a gorgeous weekend. In Florida, it is a picture-perfect weekend from the Panhandle to the Keys. Pensacola, 72, Fort Walton Beach, 73, Panama City, 71, Tallahassee, 73, Jacksonville, 78, Gainesville, 75, Ocala, 73, Daytona Beach, 72, Orlando, 72, Tampa, 73, St. Petersburg, 71, Clearwater 72, Sarasota 75, Fort Myers 75, Naples 74, West Palm Beach 75, Fort Lauderdale 77, Miami 76, Key West 76. Florida is dealing with ongoing drought conditions, so while the weather is beautiful, water conservation remains important across the state. Let me circle back now to the west and fill in every detail. In California, beyond the major cities already mentioned, Bakersfield, 76 degrees, Fresno, 76, Modesto, 69, Stockton, 57, Visalia, 67, Turlock, 69, Merced and the Central Valley Corridor are in the mid to upper 60s, Chico, 72, Redding, 52. The northern Sacramento Valley is cooler than the south. Eureka on the coast, 50 degrees. Arcata, 52. The north coast is typically cool and that continues. Santa Barbara, 60 degrees. San Luis Obispo, 61. Monterey, 59. Santa Cruz, 60. The Central Coast maintains its Mediterranean cool. Inland areas like Riverside at 70, San Bernardino at 70, Rancho Cucamonga at 70, Ontario at 70, Corona at 67 are all mild and comfortable. Palm Desert corridor temperatures are approaching the 90s and will push past 100 by early afternoon. In Nevada, Las Vegas at 73 is pleasant for now but will climb significantly. Henderson and the suburbs are similar. Reno, 57, Carson City, 57, Elko, 44. The northern Nevada high desert is much cooler than the southern part of the state, Utah beyond Salt Lake City, St. George, 63 degrees, Provo, 63, Ogden, 64, Moab, 64. The entire Wasatch Front is comfortable today. In New Mexico, Albuquerque at 57 degrees is cooler than you might expect given the heat dome because the city sits at over 5,000 feet elevation. Santa Fe, 61. Las Cruces, 73. Roswell, 68. Clovis, 80. Hobbs, 81. The eastern New Mexico plains are much warmer than the Rio Grande Valley. Let me now talk about what all of this means for the week ahead in terms of practical impact, because understanding the weather is only useful if you know what to do about it. If you are a farmer or rancher in the Plains states, the combination of extreme heat and strong winds is creating dangerous conditions for livestock and crops. Make sure animals have access to shade and water. The fire weather conditions mean any agricultural burning should be postponed until the red flag warnings are lifted. For those who have already started spring planting, the potential cold shot next weekend from the possible polar vortex lobe is worth monitoring. A late freeze could damage early planted crops, particularly in the southeast and mid-south. If you are a parent with kids who have outdoor sports or activities this weekend, Saturday is fine across most of the country. Sunday is the day to have contingency plans, especially if you are in the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, or Northeast. Outdoor events in the severe weather zone should have lightning and severe weather protocols ready to activate. Do not wait for the storm to arrive before making decisions. If storms are approaching, get inside a sturdy building. A metal bleacher at a ball field is one of the most dangerous places to be during a thunderstorm. If you are traveling this weekend, Sunday flights out of Pittsburgh, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. airports could face significant delays from mid-afternoon through the evening. Plan accordingly. If you are driving through the Ohio Valley or Mid-Atlantic on Sunday, keep your phone weather alerts active and be prepared to pull over if severe warnings are issued for your location. Never try to drive through flooded roadways. For those in New England dealing with the late-season snowstorm, remember that March snow is especially heavy and wet. It is notorious for causing power outages because the wet, dense snow clings to tree branches and power lines. Make sure you have flashlights, batteries, and enough food and water for 24 to 48 hours in case you lose power. If you have a generator, make sure it is fueled up and that you know how to operate it safely. Never run a generator inside your home or garage. Let me give you one more set of numbers to drive home how extraordinary this heat wave is. I want you to compare these temperatures to what is normal for March 21st in these cities. In Omaha, the normal high temperature for this date is 52 degrees. Today it hit 83, that is 31 degrees above normal. In Des Moines, normal high is 51. Today it is 82, that is also 31 degrees above normal. In Amarillo, normal high is 63. Today it hit 86, 23 degrees above normal. In Kansas City, normal high is 56. Today it is 74, 18 degrees above normal. In Denver, normal high is 54. Today, it is 73, 19 above. These are not subtle departures from normal. These are departures so large that they rival or exceed the most extreme warm anomalies ever recorded in the month of March for these locations. When the atmosphere loads this much extra warmth into a region, the energy has to go somewhere when a cold front arrives. And that somewhere is severe thunderstorms, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. The heat you are enjoying today is literally charging the battery that will power tomorrow's storms. Now let me give you one final piece of information that ties everything together. The precipitation outlook for the rest of March and into early April shows a clear pattern. Above normal precipitation is favored across the Mississippi River Valley, the Ohio Valley, and the Southeast. This is welcome news for drought-stricken areas in the southeastern states. However, the Southwest and far west will continue to see below normal precipitation, which means the drought will intensify further in those regions. The fire season in the West is essentially already underway, and without significant rain before the end of April, conditions will only deteriorate. Some of the drought could expand through the Rockies and potentially threaten the Pacific Northwest. This is a slow-moving crisis that does not get the dramatic headlines that tornadoes and hailstorms do, but it affects millions of people and billions of dollars in agriculture, water supply, and wildfire risk. So here is where we stand. We are living through an extraordinary moment in American weather. Record-shattering heat across two-thirds of the country, severe weather threats for the eastern third, snow in New England, fire danger in the west, drought intensifying in the southwest, and a pattern change on the horizon that could bring the first major severe weather outbreak of the season in the first week of April. Every single one of these stories will be developing over the coming days, and I will be here covering all of it. Tomorrow morning, SC Video will have the absolute latest on Sunday's severe weather event, including overnight model changes, any storm reports from today's activity in the southeast, and updated timing for when the storms will reach your city. If you have not already, subscribe right now so you do not miss tomorrow's critical update. And drop that comment below telling me where you are watching from, your city, your state, your situation. I want to hear from you, and I want to make sure every single viewer has the information they need to stay safe. The storms are coming. The timing is narrowing. And the next 48 hours will determine whether this weekend goes down as a significant weather event or just another chapter in an increasingly active spring season. Stay safe, stay weather aware. And I will see you tomorrow for the complete Sunday severe weather breakdown. You are absolutely going to want to see what happens next. Now let me pull this all together and tell you what happens after this weekend, because the pattern change coming in late March and early April is something every single American needs to have on their radar. This is the part I mentioned at the beginning, and it is the reason I said you should stay until the 8-minute mark. After Sunday's severe weather event, the cold front will push through the eastern United States on Monday, bringing much cooler temperatures to the Great Lakes and Northeast. Monday and Tuesday will be relatively quiet across most of the country. Take that break and use it to recharge, because it will not last. Out in the Pacific Northwest, another storm system will be slamming into the coast by Tuesday and Wednesday, bringing heavy rain to the lowlands and significant mountain snow to the Cascades and northern Rockies. This system is important because it is the next piece of energy that will eventually reshape the entire weather pattern across the country. By Wednesday, that Pacific system will be crossing Montana, and as it does, it will begin tapping into the abundant warmth and moisture still sitting across the southern plains. By Thursday, a large and powerful storm system will be developing across the Midwest, and this is where the second major severe weather event of the week comes into play. The jet stream configuration for Thursday and Friday shows a classic severe weather pattern, a deep trough digging into the western United States and a strong ridge over the southeast. This creates powerful southwest to northeast flow across the middle of the country, which is the conveyor belt that pulls warm, moist Gulf air northward into the path of the approaching storm system. This is the exact setup that historically produces the most significant severe weather outbreaks in the United States. Now here is the uncertainty, and this is important. The American GFS model and the European model are showing two different timelines for this second storm. The GFS is faster, racing the trough across Canada on Thursday, and potentially triggering severe weather across the Midwest and Ohio Valley Thursday evening into Friday morning. It shows a somewhat messy, disorganized event with storms firing late in the day. The European model is slower, keeping the trough further west and developing a more organized, more dangerous severe weather risk on Friday. A slower system means more time for the atmosphere to destabilize, more time for moisture to surge northward, and a more concentrated area of severe weather. Either way, the bottom line is this. By Thursday or Friday of next week, we are likely looking at another significant severe weather event across the central and eastern United States. The target zone extends from Texas through the Ohio Valley. Large hail, damaging winds, and even large tornadoes will all be in play. This second storm system has the potential to be even more dangerous than Sunday's event because it will have access to much more Gulf moisture and stronger wind shear. The warm sector could be enormous, stretching from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the Great Lakes, just like we saw earlier in March. And here is the longer-range picture that has me paying close attention. As we close out March and move into the first week of April, the overall pattern is shifting dramatically. The persistent ridge that has been keeping the Southwest baked in heat will begin to break down. A deep trough will dig into the West Coast, and a strong ridge will rebuild across the eastern United States. Moisture return from the Gulf of Mexico begins around March 28th or 29th. By April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, dew points across the southern plains and Mississippi Valley will be climbing into the 60s. When you combine rising dew points in the 60s, increasing day length providing more solar heating, stronger jet stream dynamics at the base of the western trough, and warm frontal boundaries stalling across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, you get the recipe for the first major, severe weather outbreak of 2026. Multiple days of severe weather, possibly affecting areas from Texas to the Great Lakes. We are still 10 days out from early April, so the specifics will come into sharper focus as we get closer. But the signals are strong enough right now that you should be mentally preparing. Let me also address the polar vortex rumors that have been floating around online. Right now, the pattern does not support a polar vortex intrusion into the United States. The jet stream is running in what we call a zonal pattern, flowing mostly west to east with very little north to south amplitude. For a polar vortex lobe to plunge into the lower 48, you need a highly amplified pattern with a big ridge in one area and a deep trough in another. However, the GFS model is hinting at something interesting for next weekend, around March 28th to 30th. It is showing significant amplification with a big ridge building out west and a deep trough plunging into the eastern United States. If this verifies, it could bring a brief shot of much colder air into the Midwest Ohio Valley and possibly toward the Gulf Coast. This would not be a prolonged cold outbreak, more like a quick 2 to 3 day blast, but it could bring freezing temperatures into the southeast. That is a major concern for anyone who has already put plants in the ground or started spring planting operations. The European model is not as aggressive. Its ensembles show some amplification, but not the dramatic plunge the GFS is showing. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day outlook for March 26th through 30th shows much below normal temperatures in the northeast, near normal across the middle of the country, and much above normal in the desert southwest. They are not buying into a major Arctic intrusion, but they are acknowledging the cooling trend for the east. I am leaning toward the European solution right now, but this bears watching over the coming days. Now I want to address the drought and fire weather situation because the heat we are experiencing right now is making things worse in a hurry. Extreme drought conditions persist across the Southwest, particularly in Arizona, Southern California, and Southern Texas. Florida is also dealing with significant drought. The dry ground is one of the reasons temperatures are soaring so high because dry soil heats up much faster than moist soil, creating a feedback loop that amplifies heat waves. Red flag warnings are posted right now from the Rocky Mountains all the way into the plains, stretching from South Dakota down through Oklahoma and Texas. Relative humidity is dangerously low, sometimes below 10%. Winds are gusting into the 40-mile-per-hour range in Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana, with gusts approaching 60 miles per hour near the higher elevations and the Front Range. The combination of extreme heat, low humidity, and strong wind creates perfect conditions for rapid-fire spread. A single spark can ignite a wildfire that races across dry grassland at speeds that are impossible to outrun on foot. If you are anywhere in the red flag warning zone, do not burn anything outdoors. Do not throw cigarettes out of car windows. Do not use open flames, fire pits, or fireworks. This is not an overreaction. The conditions right now are as dangerous for wildfire as anything we see in the peak of summer. Unfortunately, the Southwest is expected to remain dry through early April, which will intensify and expand the drought further. Some of that drought could spread through the Rockies and potentially into the Pacific Northwest if beneficial rain does not arrive by the end of April. The one bright spot is that the Mississippi River Valley, the Ohio Valley, and the Southeast are expected to see above normal precipitation in early April. That would bring welcome relief to areas that have been running dry. But the Western drought is a developing story that will demand attention for months to come. Now let me go even deeper on some of the areas I have not fully covered yet because I know viewers across the entire country want to hear about their local conditions. This is going to be comprehensive, so stay with me. Starting with the entire state of Tennessee, Memphis at 73 degrees with scattered clouds, Nashville 77, Knoxville 76, Chattanooga 76, Clarksville 77, Murfreesboro 75, Cookeville 72, Jackson, Tennessee at 77, Dyersburg 76, Kingsport 71, Bristol 68, McMinnville 73, Shelbyville 73, Tullahoma 73, Sevierville 76, Maryville 74. The eastern portion of the state from Knoxville eastward faces the severe threat this afternoon. Western Tennessee is hot and dry with fire weather concerns. In the Carolinas specifically, beyond Charlotte, Raleigh, and the cities I already mentioned, look at these numbers across smaller communities. Asheboro, North Carolina, 74, Boone, 63, Brevard, 62, Black Mountain, 62, Waynesville, 62. These mountain communities in western North Carolina are cooler but still in the zone for isolated storms this evening. Down on the coast, Jacksonville, North Carolina, 74. New Bern and the coastal plain are in the mid-70s. Outer Banks locations like Kitty Hawk at 63 and Manteo at 65 are cooler thanks to the ocean influence. In South Carolina, Florence at 75, Kingstree 72, Summerville 74, Myrtle Beach 74, North Myrtle Beach 73. Hilton Head and the Low Country are in the mid-70s with beautiful conditions. In Pennsylvania, I want to make sure every viewer knows their situation. Beyond Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and State College. Altoona, 53 degrees. Johnstown, 64. Erie, 39 and overcast. That is a 40-degree temperature difference between Erie in the northwest corner and Johnstown in the south-central part of the state. Scranton, 38. Wilkes-Barre, 38. These northeastern Pennsylvania cities are cold and will stay that way through the weekend. Reading, 52. Lancaster, 52. York, 58. Gettysburg area is in the mid-50s. The southeastern Pennsylvania corridor from Lancaster to Philadelphia is in the severe weather zone for Sunday afternoon. In New Jersey, beyond Trenton and Newark, Atlantic City, 62. Seaside Heights, 57. Lakewood, 56. Cherry Hill and the southern New Jersey corridor are in the upper 50s. The entire state should be monitoring conditions Sunday afternoon as the squall line pushes through. In Maryland beyond Baltimore, Ocean City and the Eastern Shore are in the low 60s. Salisbury, Cumberland at 60 degrees, Annapolis, 60. Waldorf, 65. The Baltimore-Washington corridor is the primary zone of concern for Sunday's severe weather, particularly for large hail. Let me now cover the Pacific Northwest in more detail since you have a storm system arriving midweek. Portland, Oregon, 47 degrees under partly sunny skies. Salem, 46. Eugene, 49. Corvallis, 48. Bend, 47. Medford, 55. Roseburg, 51. Astoria, 45. Newport, 46. Coos Bay, 48. The Oregon coast is mild and overcast. In Washington State, Seattle at 45. Tacoma, 42. Olympia, 41. Bellingham, 44. Vancouver, Washington, 45. Spokane, 45. Yakima, 51. Wenatchee, 49. Ellensburg, 45. Pullman, 41 with light rain already falling. The Pacific Northwest is the only region that actually feels seasonally appropriate right now. Your big weather event arrives Tuesday into Wednesday when a Pacific storm brings heavy rain to the lowlands and significant mountain snow to the Cascades. Some of the passes could see 12 to 18 inches of new snow, which is important for water supply given the drought concerns further south, in the northern Rockies. Missoula, Montana, 45 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Kalispell, 46. Butte, 43. Bozeman, 48. Helena, 47. Great Falls, 48. Billings, 58. These cities are seeing some light precipitation from the current Pacific system, with rain in the valleys and snow in the mountains. By Tuesday, another round moves in. In Idaho, Boise, 57 degrees and sunny. Idaho Falls, 56. Pocatello, 52. Coeur d'Alene, 44 with light rain. Lewiston, 46. Post Falls 44, Twin Falls area around Jerome at 58 degrees. Northern Idaho is wet right now and will continue to see showers through the weekend. Now I want to talk about something that often gets overlooked in these forecasts, and that is the human impact of what we are seeing. When we throw around numbers like 86 degrees in Amarillo or 110 near Phoenix in March, it is easy to treat them as just numbers on a screen. But these temperatures have real consequences for real people. Outdoor workers across the southern plains and southwest are dealing with heat stress conditions that they would not normally face until June. Construction crews, agricultural workers, landscapers, utility line workers, everyone who works outside is being asked to endure summer heat with spring preparation. If you employ outdoor workers or if you work outside, please take extra precautions. Hydration breaks every 15 to 20 minutes, access to shade, recognition of heat exhaustion symptoms like dizziness, nausea, rapid heartbeat, and confusion. This is not typical March heat, and bodies that have not yet acclimated to summer conditions are especially vulnerable. The elderly and those with chronic health conditions are also at higher risk. If you have an elderly neighbor or family member, especially in the southern plains or southwest, check on them today and tomorrow. Make sure they have working air conditioning and adequate water. Heat-related emergencies can escalate quickly, particularly for those on certain medications that impair the body's ability to regulate temperature. Pets are affected too. If it is too hot for you to hold your hand on the pavement for 5 seconds, it is too hot for your dog's paws. In Phoenix, where ground temperatures can reach 140 degrees or more when air temperatures are in the 110s, this is a serious concern even in March. Let me also mention the Aurora viewing opportunity that some of you may have noticed. Solar activity has been elevated with geomagnetic storm conditions reaching G3 levels, which is moderately strong. This has produced visible aurora displays across the northern United States. If you are in the northern tier states and have clear skies tonight, it is worth stepping outside after dark and looking to the north. The aurora viewing window is closing as solar activity settles down, but there may still be some faint displays visible tonight in the northern states. This is a rare treat and a reminder that weather does not just happen at ground level. The sun, 93 million miles away, is also putting on a show this weekend. Now let me address one more topic that several of you have been asking about in previous videos. The tropical weather season officially begins in May, and while we are still about 6 weeks away from that, the overall pattern setup heading into spring has implications for hurricane season. The persistent ridge pattern across the subtropical Atlantic, combined with the ongoing drought in the southeast, suggests that the Gulf of Mexico sea surface temperatures are running warmer than normal. This does not mean we are going to have an active hurricane season, but it is one of many factors that forecasters are watching as we approach the June 1st official start date. We will have much more on the hurricane season outlook in the coming weeks. For those of you who garden or farm, I want to give you some specific guidance based on what we are seeing. In the southern plains and southeast, the extreme warmth is accelerating plant growth. Trees are leafing out early, flowers are blooming ahead of schedule, and early planted crops are growing faster than expected. This is great as long as the warmth continues. But remember that potential cold shot around March 28th to 30th, if the GFS model is correct and a polar vortex lobe pushes freezing air into the southeast, any tender new growth would be at risk. My advice, do not plant frost-sensitive vegetables or flowers until we get past that potential cold event. Wait until early April when the pattern becomes clearer. A few days of patience now could save you weeks of replanting later. In the Northeast, where temperatures have been more seasonally appropriate, the ground is still cold and in some areas still frozen or snow-covered. Do not let the warm days further south tempt you into early planting. Your last frost dates are still weeks away, and the snowstorm arriving this weekend is a reminder that winter has not fully released its grip on the northern states. All right, I have given you everything I have for the next 7 days. Let me do one final rapid-fire summary of the key takeaways so you can share this information with your family, your neighbors, and your coworkers. Number 1. Today, Saturday, March 21st, isolated severe thunderstorms with large hail across eastern Tennessee and the western Carolinas between 4 and 9 in the evening Eastern Time. Number 2. Tonight, snow develops across upstate New York and northern New England. Number 3. Tomorrow, Sunday, March 22nd, significant severe weather across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Storms firing late morning, peaking mid-afternoon through early evening. Large hail, damaging winds over 60 miles per hour, isolated tornadoes. This is the day to be weather aware if you are anywhere from Indiana to New Jersey. Number 4, Sunday through Monday, heavy snow across northern New England, 8 to 12 inches in the mountains, 3 to 6 in the valleys. Number 5, Monday through Wednesday, brief quiet period as the cold front pushes through. Enjoy it. Number 6, Thursday through Friday, second significant severe weather event likely across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and possibly the Southern Plains. Could be more dangerous than Sunday's event. Number 7, late March into early April, major pattern change bringing the return of widespread severe weather. First outbreak of the season possible in the first week of April. Number 8, fire weather danger continues across the plains and Rockies through the weekend. Take red flag warning seriously. Number 9, drought intensifying across the Southwest with no relief in sight through April. Number 10, possible brief cold shot around March 28th to 30th that could bring freezing temperatures to the southeast. Gardeners and farmers take note. That is 10 critical pieces of information that affect tens of millions of Americans. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Tell them to subscribe so they get tomorrow's update when we will have the very latest data on Sunday's severe weather timeline. Comment below with your city and state. I am building a community of weather-aware Americans who look out for each other, and every comment helps me make these forecasts better for everyone. The weather is changing fast. 2 major storms in 1 week, record heat, late-season snow, fire danger, and a pattern change that could reshape the rest of spring. This is the kind of week that reminds us all why weather forecasting matters and why being prepared is not optional. It is essential. I will see you tomorrow morning with the latest. Stay safe out there tonight, and whatever you do, do not ignore the warnings. But I realize I still owe you coverage of a few more regions. Let me make sure nobody is left out. In Arkansas, beyond the cities I mentioned, Little Rock, 74 degrees and sunny, Fort Smith, 73, Bentonville, 74, Hot Springs area and the Ouachita Mountains are in the low 70s, Batesville, 76, Jonesboro and northeast Arkansas are warm and dry. Pine Bluff, the Arkansas River Valley, all enjoying a warm, quiet weekend. No severe weather expected in Arkansas through Monday. In Missouri, I want to highlight the smaller communities. Poplar Bluff, 74 degrees. Cape Girardeau and the Boot Heel region are in the low 70s. Hannibal, 77. Kirksville in the north is running well above normal. Washington, Missouri, 72. Cuba, 75. The entire state is abnormally warm with strong fire weather concerns in the western half. In Iowa, beyond Des Moines and Omaha's metro area, Cedar Rapids, 66 degrees, Iowa City, 66, Waterloo, 67, Mason City, 66, Dubuque, 59, Grinnell, 75. The eastern Iowa corridor is a bit cooler than the western half, but the entire state is still running 15 to 25 degrees above normal for this date. The warmth is extraordinary even by Iowa standards, and longtime residents will tell you they have never experienced anything quite like this in March. In Wisconsin, the temperature contrast across the state is remarkable and tells you everything about the weather pattern we are dealing with. Milwaukee, 50 degrees. Madison, 54. Green Bay, 39. Appleton, 41. Eau Claire, 53. La Crosse, 60. Wausau, 40. The southern half of the state is mild, while the northern half is still stuck in winter. That boundary runs almost exactly along the jet stream, and it is that contrast that generates the energy for severe weather when it gets released. In Michigan, the state is firmly on the cold side of the pattern. Detroit, 37 degrees with overcast skies. Grand Rapids, 40. Lansing, 37. Ann Arbor, 37. Flint, 39. Saginaw, 39. Traverse City, 37. Marquette, 32 with light snow. The Upper Peninsula is still dealing with winter weather, and Marquette could see an additional inch or two of snow this weekend. Escanaba, 35 with snow and fog. The entire state will remain cool and cloudy through Monday. In Minnesota, the north-south divide is dramatic. Minneapolis, 57 degrees. Rochester, 65. Duluth, 34. International Falls, 42. Moorhead, 60. Bemidji, 56. The southern tier is basking in spring like warmth that would be impressive even in April, while the Arrowhead region near Lake Superior remains locked in chilly conditions. That 40-degree spread between Rochester and Duluth across a distance of about 300 miles perfectly illustrates the atmospheric battleground that will fuel tomorrow's severe weather. In the Dakotas, Sioux Falls at 72 degrees and Rapid City at 71 are both remarkably warm. Pierre, 64, Bismarck, 63, Aberdeen, 67. The entire state of South Dakota is 20 to 30 degrees above normal. Even North Dakota, which normally would still have snow on the ground in late March, is seeing temperatures approach 60 degrees in some areas. Fargo at 60 degrees in late March is unusual enough to make longtime residents do a double take. In Nebraska, the numbers are truly historic. Lincoln, 80 degrees, Omaha, 83, Grand Island, 65, North Platte, 67, Scottsbluff, 65, Kearney, 72. Every single one of these cities is running well above normal, and the western Nebraska corridor is dealing with intense fire weather as wind gusts approach 45 miles per hour over dried-out grasslands. In Kansas, Wichita at 80 degrees is approaching the state's March record. Topeka, 71, Manhattan, 71, Salina, 72, Dodge City, 74, Garden City, 74, Hayes, 79, Emporia, 79, Lawrence, 73, Overland Park, 78. The entire state is dealing with dangerous fire conditions alongside the extreme heat. And finally, in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City at 76 degrees, Tulsa, 75. Norman and the metro area are in the mid-70s. Stillwater, 76. Lawton and southwestern Oklahoma are approaching 80. Enid, 80. McAllister, 78. The fire weather danger across western Oklahoma is extreme, with red flag warnings extending through Sunday. Now, you have the most comprehensive weather forecast available for every corner of the United States. More than 270 cities and locations covered. Hour-by-hour storm timing for every affected region. Specific threats identified for each area. And a 7-day outlook that takes you all the way through the potential second storm next Thursday and Friday and into the pattern change for early April. This is the kind of forecast that takes hours to put together, and I do it because I believe everyone deserves to know what is coming. Weather does not care about zip codes or state lines. It affects all of us, and the more prepared we are, the safer we all become. Tomorrow morning's video will be the most important one this week. Sunday's severe weather event will be evolving rapidly, and I will have the overnight model updates, any changes to timing or intensity, and storm reports from today's activity across the southeast. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you see it the moment it drops. Comment your location below. Share this video with someone in the storm zone, and above all, stay safe this weekend. The atmosphere is loaded with energy, and over the next 48 hours, that energy is going to be released in dramatic fashion. Be ready, be aware, and I will be right here with you through every storm, every snowflake, and every record-breaking temperature. See you tomorrow. Actually, before I go, let me give you one more critical piece of information that I almost forgot to mention, and it could save lives tomorrow. If you are in the severe weather zone on Sunday and you hear a tornado warning issued for your county, here is exactly what you need to do. Get to the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Interior rooms like bathrooms and closets offer the best protection. Stay away from windows. If you are in a mobile home, get out and go to a predetermined shelter. A mobile home provides almost zero protection against a tornado, even a weak one. If you are driving, do not try to outrun a tornado. Pull over, get out of your vehicle, and lie flat in the lowest area you can find, like a ditch, covering your head with your hands. Never shelter under a highway overpass. The wind actually accelerates under overpasses, making them one of the most dangerous places to be during a tornado. For the hail threat specifically, if you hear a severe thunderstorm warning with large hail mentioned, get your vehicles into a garage if possible. If you cannot get them covered, know that comprehensive auto insurance typically covers hail damage, so make sure your policy is up to date. Stay inside during the storm. Hailstones the size of golf balls, which we could see tomorrow, fall at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. Being struck by one of those can cause serious injury. For the wind threat, secure any loose outdoor items before the storms arrive. Patio furniture, trampolines, garbage cans, anything that can become airborne in 60-mile-per-hour winds becomes a projectile that can break windows or injure people. Bring them inside or tie them down. If you have dead trees or hanging branches near your home, be aware that high winds can bring those down onto your roof, your car, or your power lines. Stay away from windows during the strongest winds, and have a flashlight ready in case you lose power. These are basic safety steps that take 10 minutes of preparation but could prevent hours of regret. Please do them today before the storms arrive tomorrow. Also, let me mention something for all my viewers across the Great Plains who are dealing with the fire weather. If you see smoke or a grass fire starting, call 911 immediately. Do not assume someone else has already reported it. In conditions like these, a fire that starts at the size of a campfire can grow to consume hundreds of acres within an hour. Every minute of early reporting helps firefighters get ahead of the blaze. If a wildfire is approaching your home, do not wait to evacuate. Leave early. Take your important documents, medications, pets, and go. Property can be replaced. Lives cannot. One last look at the numbers for emphasis. 100 records broken today, another 100 or more falling tomorrow. 8 to 12 inches of snow in Vermont while it is 86 degrees in Amarillo. Tornadoes possible in Ohio while fire consumes grassland in Kansas. Snow falling in Maine while Phoenix approaches 110. The United States is a continent of weather extremes, and this weekend is proving that in ways we have rarely seen before. I want every single one of you to make it through this weekend safely. That is why I put these forecasts together. That is why I cover every city, every threat, every hour of timing, because information saves lives. And when you know what is coming, you can prepare. When you prepare, you protect yourself and the people you love. Tomorrow is going to be a wild day. I will have every detail for